Welcome to the first episode of the Debt Killer Podcast. I'm your host, Larry White. So who is the debt killer? That would be bankruptcy attorney Jeffrey West. Jeff practices in Oklahoma and brings his 10 years experience as a bankruptcy attorney to our show. Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Jeffrey E. West, and I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I practice in the Western District of Oklahoma, which includes Oklahoma City and Lawton. I have been practicing in the area of bankruptcy for a little over 10 years and have filed about a little over 1,500 cases in that time. I also have filed adversary cases, which are mini lawsuits inside of bankruptcy cases, which a lot of bankruptcy attorneys do not do. And I do two types of bankruptcy. There's basically four types of bankruptcy: Chapter 7, 11, 12, and 13. Chapter 7 and 13 are what we call the consumer bankruptcy areas. Chapter 11 is for businesses, like you hear about airlines, you hear about American Airlines, they filed Chapter 13, or some airline filed that, some business. Chapter 12s are primarily for family farmers if they're in trouble and they need to restructure or reorganize their debt. But those are two specialized areas, and most people don't practice in the consumer side and on the business side and the farmer side. So my practice is concentrated on the consumer side, which includes Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. Now, basically, the difference between a Chapter 7 and a 13 is the type of assets that you are allowed to keep and the process that you go through differs from a 7 and a 13. For instance, in a Chapter 7, once we file a petition, your case is basically complete within 90 days of filing the petition. There's no payments made to any trustee's office. There's nothing, no other duties other than the ones that we'll discuss later that you need to be aware of or get done. In a Chapter 13, however, that's what we call a wage earner bankruptcy. And I might back up. A Chapter 7 is actually what we call a total liquidation, but that doesn't mean exactly what it sounds like. It doesn't mean we're going to liquidate your whole life to find out whether or not you can remain in bankruptcy. But a Chapter 13 is what we call a wage earner bankruptcy. And usually that's reserved for people that, A, earn wages and have a home that they're behind on, have a car that they're about to lose possession of or they're behind on, or some other secured debt that is in need of being either reorganized, restructured, or allow them a chance to get caught up. Now, with both types of bankruptcies, you're going to receive what's called a fresh start. Once the bankruptcy is complete, you receive a discharge, which I refer to as a golden ticket. You keep that golden ticket and you keep it for the rest of your life, because every time you apply for any credit or do anything that involves money or credit, you're going to need to have a copy of that with you. So in a Chapter 7, what we will do, and both processes run parallel to a certain point. In a Chapter 7, we will prepare a petition. The debtor is required to complete a credit counseling class. You'll sign the petition. We'll file the petition. Court date will be set. You'll complete a second credit counseling class. And these credit counseling classes were enacted from the 2005 Bankruptcy Reform Act. And they were primarily set up to educate a debtor. They're not a pass or fail type of test. You go online, or you can do it over the telephone. They go through your budget. They look at different avenues that may be available to you. However, the credit counselings are not allowed to request or to convince you that you need to take a different route other than bankruptcy. That's what they're not attorneys. They're not in the legal field. They're not allowed to give legal advice. So a lot of people, when I say that, get a little apprehensive about it. I've got to do something. But generally speaking, it's always on a computer. You can do it in basically an hour and a half. You and your spouse can do it if you're married, and they issue one certificate. The cost for that ranges about $36, and that's something that the debtor is responsible for. But once that's completed, and we do the petition, we file it, and we go to court, you take the second class. And the second class is called the financial management class. That class is designed to give the debtor some ideas about their financial situation and ways to handle debt. Once you finish that class, we file a certificate with the court, and then shortly thereafter you receive your discharge in Chapter 7. So that's a long way of saying that to get Chapter 7 process has not changed a lot since 2005 for the debtor, but it's changed a lot for the attorneys. The biggest difference is the credit counseling class that you have to have. One thing I had talked about, I have a website. My website is titled debtkillerok.com. That's debtkillerok.com. On that website, you'll find that I have a lot of information about what bankruptcy is, the types, the process, how that works, the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, what you need to expect, if there's any litigation or any appeals that need to be done, and just a few answers and questions for you that you can go through and look at. Also on the front of that web page, we have a free case evaluation. If you fill that out and submit it, I receive an immediate email, and I review that, and I answer those emails, or I have someone in the office answer those, and get back to you and set up an appointment or something that we can discuss with. We're not allowed to discuss fees over the phone, and generally I don't do that. I generally need people to bring in their information and sit down with me, and we need to go through and see exactly what type of bankruptcy and what the situation is, and if there's any problems out there that we need to know about before we start telling anyone how much it's going to cost to complete their case. But with that said, generally Chapter 7s are very affordable, and Chapter 13s are very affordable. And I found in my experience that it is normally no more than what a normal mortgage payment is on most homes for a family of four. I have two offices. My primary office is in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and that's on the south side of Oklahoma City. It's on 89th Street between Santa Fe and Shields. And my second office is in Lawton, and it's located on C Avenue, which is just northeast of the courthouse, and the Bank First building, and that's in Suite 303. My website has both phone numbers. My phone number for the Oklahoma City office is 405-616-4949, and for the Lawton office is 580-354-9000. If you call either one of those numbers, they will ring back to the Oklahoma City office, and someone will answer it from here. All of the scheduling, all of the phones are handled in the Oklahoma City office. But I do meet with clients in Lawton, and I do handle cases down there. We are a debt relief agency. The federal government, in all its wisdom, has determined that all attorneys are debt relief agents, and therefore we have to disclose that the federal law requires us to say that we are debt relief agencies, and therefore we're covered under the Bankruptcy Reform Act that was enacted in 2005. I take a personal approach to all the clients that I see. I try to listen to everything that's a problem and try to direct them in a manner so that when they leave my office the first time, they have some sense of relief that, hey, I was in this huge mess, there's pressure from everywhere, and he just took everything off of me. He's going to handle it. I have to do a few things. I have to be involved, but I don't have to worry about these people hounding me to death. And if you're in that situation, you know what I mean. If creditors are calling and you don't have the money to pay it, then automatically your stress level is going to be high. So we'd be happy to help you. Give me a call.
Thanks, Jeff. If you would like to talk to Jeff personally, he can be reached at area code 405-616-4949 or at debtkillerok.com. The next episode of the Debt Killer Podcast will cover different kinds of bankruptcy and which might be right for you. Be sure and tune in.